welcome back to the channel. This is the second video on the 56 Ford Victoria build, and I have the body ready for foil. The paint is truly dry, and I wet sanded the body and painted it and polished it with PPG polishing compound. And this is the good part of using automotive paint, is that you don't need any specialized polishing compounds or other supplements to polish your model car, as automotive paint needs automotive products that come in a much bigger format, let's say, and they are cheaper because of that. So the red and black paint on the Ford here is ready to be foiled. I still need to do some small touch-ups, but actually none of those separation lines here will appear after the foil is installed. So you'll have a perfect hiding place for this white primer that is still showing. Here you can see the underside. The headliner is white, like I said, and I still need to paint all the engine bay, the insides of the engine bay, and the radiator here, and some other details. So what I also did was to actually remove the paint from the badges. Here on the door you have the Victoria badge. This badge was foiled before painting the body, and using a toothpick and a little thinner, I just took the paint very carefully from the lettering, and here you have it. The same thing was done here on the hood, and the hood is quite a challenge because the lettering here is really faint, so it's super difficult to remove the paint from the letters, leaving the rest of the paint intact. But somehow I managed to do that. My second option would be painting the lettering on the hood with a Molotov pen and a very small brush. And other than that, I finished the most important and most time-consuming part of the build. Most important because this that is done here is the base for everything that's going to come. I sanded all the flash away from the rear seat, smoothed and sanded all the flash from the interior base, and I put the engine together and added a little putty to the joining between the two halves here on the engine, and also on the top. And this joint here is supposed to be showing. It's a joint the real car has on the gearbox casting. But here on the clutch cover and on the tail of the gearbox, there are no joints showing, so they were eliminated. The engine will be first given a coat of white primer. Then I will paint the entire thing steel color, because the transmission needs to be steel. And if I paint here, I will have overspray over the engine, and when I paint it red, I'll have a little difference in tone. So I paint the entire thing steel, mask the transmission, and then paint the engine Ford engine red. That is the correct color for a 56. Also, the dash had those sides here sanded, as there are some mold lines here that interfere with the fitting of the glass. The rear end is also assembled and ready to paint. Again, the joint between the two halves of the rear end is sanded smooth, and some putty was used here on the cover of the differential. And the goal is, after having the primer on, I have no visible telltale signs that this was ever a two-piece assembly. And same thing happens to the seat, that has a separate part here on the back with a visible joint running through here, and it was again carefully sanded and prepared so the joint here won't be visible under the paint. And well, this is the most important part of the build, because no matter how detailed your paint job is, if you have lots of flaws and lots of joints showing, things won't be that nice. Same thing, a good example is here. When the front A-arms go on the frame, the Ford has two bushings, one here, and this little part here, this little cross member, is one piece, but the suspension is molded with part of this cross member here as part of the front suspension, and a very visible joint would be here. And so I had to glue the front suspension in place and smooth things here to eliminate the joints. And I glued the springs to the lower arms, so later I can just pull the arms this way and install the front steering system. And the front steering system is here, all assembled and ready for paint. Also, the steering wheel is assembled and ready for paint. Every single part that will be used on the build is here prepared, free of flash, sanded, smoothed, and ready for paint. That will be the next step. So I hope to have the parts in primer this week, and to start detail painting those parts in their final colors. And when I have something to show you guys, I'll be back. So stay tuned for part 3 of the 1956 Ford Fairlane Victoria. Thanks for watching, and bye bye.